careful not to choke on your spoilers. Welcome to the channel, I'm Hayes, I talk movies all day, so subscribe right now if you want to be entertained. And today, I want to talk about Rogue One, a Star Wars story, the first ever standalone Star Wars movie. Assuming we don't count Star Wars Holiday Special, or Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure, or Ewoks The Battle of Endor, or The Clone Wars, then it's the first. Anyway, this is at least the first spin-off from Disney, and it was a pretty well-liked movie when it came out. So now, I'ma tell you why it's trash, and then at the end, drop a few final thoughts. So the movie starts off with making you okay. No opening text scroll. Alright. So young Jyn Erso sees danger coming and runs to tell her parents, but they already know, yet none of them went to get her? Anyway, Papa Erso tells Jyn to gather her things, and Jyn stuffs a toy into her bag. Now, seeing as she's a kid, she's gonna be doing illogical things, but this seems like a situation that Mama and Papa Erso knew would come, so why didn't they prepare their daughter better? Furthermore, by the time Jyn got back to the house, Mama and Papa Erso were already packing because they knew the danger was coming, so why were they still packing? In the time it took Jyn to spot the danger, then run back to the house, they should have already been ready to go. So Mama Erso FaceTimes Saw Gerrera and tells him, he's come for us. And Saw replies with, you know what to do. And for all we know, she knew exactly what to do. But maybe it's still worth confirming that everybody knows what to do, just in case. Papa Erso tells Jyn that whatever he does to protect her. It's sweet, but considering the imminent threat, this is a type of thing that could wait. Also, clearly hasn't done a good job of protecting her. That man is a shit dad. So they finally get out of the house and Mama Erso asks Jyn if she knows where to go. Jyn replies yes, but neither actually say where she's supposed to be going. You really should be confirming these things. Mama Erso then sends Jyn on her way while she runs back to get herself killed. So was that all part of the original plan when she told Saw Gerrera she knew what to do? Cause I'm guessing not. Also, somebody should tell Krennic that killing a man's wife in front of him is no way to encourage good workmanship. Are you dumb? So Jyn starts running back to go eavesdrop on her daddy, and why is everyone just deciding on the fly to make all these changes to what I can only assume was a pretty good plan to get everyone to safety? Anyway, this Krennic guy, he comes across like he ain't the one to play with. You know, he had no problem killing Mama Erso in front of Papa Erso, also had no problem ordering his troops to go find the child. But it's kinda hard to take someone seriously as a badass when they can't even iron their cape. Furthermore, I ain't no fashion guru or nothing, but I swear that whole outfit looks like it was made by somebody cosplaying as Krennic. Also, are we supposed to just ignore the fact that this whole opening scene is a blatant ripoff of Inglourious Bastards? So now it's some years later. They don't specify how many years, we're supposed to just guess, I guess. But it's enough time for Jyn to end up in an Imperial prison, which means either Saw Gerrera was a snake and turned her in, or Saw Gerrera was an incompetent father figure. Either way, Papa Erso should have taught her how to prepare better. That man is a shit dad. Anyway, now we get introduced to Cassian Andor, whose name sounds like there's supposed to be something that comes after it, like Cassian and or what? So Cassian meets with this dude called Tivik, who's really scared, but he tells Cassian about a pilot who defected from the bad guys and was sent by Papa Erso to tell the good guys that the bad guys are using the kyber crystals to make a planet killer weapon. Cassian then kills 2 stormtroopers and then kills Tivik. But why? I mean, I get why he killed the stormtroopers, although that was ill-advised, but why Tivik? Tivik gave him valuable information at great risk to his own personal safety, and for that he gets killed by the very person he was there to help? Nah, you wrong for that. So that pilot who defected from the bad guys, his name is Bodhi, and Bodhi is looking for Saw Gerrera. But before he can see Saw, he has to be seen by Saw's henchmen who make it so he can't see anything. Now I get that Saw has to be careful about who knows where he is, but for real, there's no way you have that many foot soldiers and your location is still a secret. Somebody's seen something or somebody said something. This is given Sagat stage. Anyway, Jin Erso is being transported to another site where the prisoner transport vehicle gets intercepted by the rebels coming to rescue her. Jin then attacks the same rebels that came to rescue her as soon as her hands were free. What is it with people attacking those who risk their safety to help them? I swear they got it all backwards. So the rebels rescue Jin because they really want to get to Saw Gerrera and think Jin can get them to him without getting killed. It's exactly this point Jin should have said, "Nah, blood, put me back in prison innit?" She ain't seen Saw in years, so there's no guarantee he won't kill her, and even if he is still friendly to Jin, if he has no problem killing off rebels trying to get close to him, then perhaps there's a good reason for that. Anyway, CGI Mon Mothma told Jin that if she helps him, she'll make sure Jin goes free. But seeing as they broke her out of prison, that would heavily suggest they have no authority to make that promise. Cassian's boss tells Cassian to find Papa Urso and kill him then and there. Cassian's eyes start shifting around as if to say he's not happy with that instruction. But why? This same dude not that long ago killed a guy with zero provocation, and now all of a sudden we're supposed to just believe he's having doubts about killing a known collaborator of the Empire because he has a more prominent role in the movie? Tivik was somebody too, you know. Bodhi is growing impatient because he hasn't been introduced to Saw Gerrera yet and claims he needs to speak with him before it's too late. But when they take the back of his head and he sees that he is indeed talking to Saw, he starts to mumble like a starstruck schoolgirl for the next 15 seconds. So now we know it's at least 15 years later, enough time for Krennic to have gotten a new cape, and still doesn't iron it. Anyway, I guess it's only fair that both the good guys and the bad guys get a CGI version of a classic character. But is it me or does CGI Tarkin look, well, CGI? I mean, even though I know Mon Mothma was CGI too, she looks pretty damn close to real. But Tarkin? Tarkin CGI is worse than She-Hulk. Okay, let me be fair, it's not that bad, but still looks too obviously CGI for me. Anyway, Tarkin is letting Krennic know that he's a bumbling bitch for letting Bodhi escape and making time an ally of the rebellion. But can anyone really be surprised? This guy can't even iron a cape, how's he gonna keep his men in check? Jin has a dream, remembering the good times with Papa Urso, telling her that he'd always protect her.
So that was a fucking lie.
So Borg Gullet can tell what's true by feeling people's thoughts, but as a side effect, the person whose thoughts are being felt tend to lose their mind. Surely in a place where people routinely use force magic to sense other people's feelings, there's a better way of knowing whether he's telling the truth or not?
Hey, you just got yourself.
Oh look, it's those guys from that other Star Wars movie. You know, the one with the guy and the thing. The blindsman Chirrut Imwe calls over Jin saying he'll trade her necklace for a glimpse of her future. Jin is wearing a scarf over her neck and asks Chirrut how he knew she was wearing a necklace. They don't exactly say, but the answer is simple. Chirrut can smell a woman and assumes all women wear necklaces. It's kind of sexist, but also not too far from the truth. Jin risked her life to save the little girl and then handed her over to the very first person that came. Didn't ask if that was her mother, or if the girl even knew her. Just saying, she could have saved this girl's life just to pass her on to the real reason she was crying in the first place. Also, the mother didn't even say thank you. Anyway, the fights broke out because Saw's men attacked the Imperial army. Now I know the stormtroopers were there to steal kyber crystals from Jedha to power a planet-killing super weapon, but they were doing it peacefully. Saw's men attacked him in the middle of the city, putting civilian lives in direct risk of injury or death. Saw is the bad guy here. Can't lie, man, this bit is sick. Saw's men arrest Jin and her friends because they're upset that Cassian killed one of their guys. First of all, they caused a commotion in the first place. Can't be mad one of you man got killed. And B, why bother arresting them? It's clear they have no issue with taking life. They should have shot them all straight away. So we're supposed to just believe that now all of a sudden they want to take prisoners? Because Jin is the star of the movie. Anyway, Saw's men put bags over their heads and take him back to base. They also pull a bag over Chirrut's head, who comments, "Are you kidding? I'm blind." It might seem silly, but it actually makes sense to bag the blind man. For one thing, they don't know if he's lying about being blind and just wears special contact lenses. And if he really is blind, then the bag could help muffle his hearing. So yeah, they were right to bag the blind man. Baze asks Chirrut in a surprised manner if he's praying, but these guys act like they've been dating for at least 10 years, so surely Chirrut praying shouldn't be anything of note. So the last time Jin saw saw her skills were soaring and saw fit to leave her behind. Thing is, he tells her it's because people were figuring out who she was and wanted to protect her from becoming a hostage. Okay, but probably should have told her that at the time. Save a whole load of confusion. Everybody out here just changing their plans and not telling nobody. What the hell? I mean, her mama left her papa left her uncle left her. This girl must have had serious abandonment issues. Actually, come to think of it, when Jin attacked those guys that came to rescue her, makes sense now. So it turns out Bodhi, the pilot Cassian was looking for, was in the cell right next to him the whole time. They don't say exactly how long they've been in prison, but the way it's edited would suggest that it's been a good minute. At least 6. And it's only now they're noticing there was a dude in the next cell? And of all people, it was a blind man that spotted him? Cassian's pretty sure at his job, ain't he? Saul plays Jin a message he got from Papa Urso, where Papa Urso says, if Jin is alive, if you could possibly find her. So did Saul tell Papa Urso that he abandoned Jin all those years ago? And Papa Urso is okay with that? That man is a shit dad. Anyway, the rest of the message is Papa Urso saying he pretended to be the beaten down, obedient servant of the Empire, all the while laying the groundwork for his revenge by purposefully making the Death Star with a flaw so small the Empire won't find it, but so powerful a single blast would blow it up. First of all, I told you killing a man's wife in front of him is no way to encourage good workmanship. And B, if you're gonna pretend to be a dedicated worker while purposefully creating a flaw in the system, wouldn't it have been a better idea for that flaw to be the Death Star doesn't work? Just doesn't turn on. You flip a switch, nothing. I mean, I'm no scientist or whatever, but I'm thinking that could have saved a whole lot of lives. But I guess the main reason why this scene exists is to finally explain why the Death Star was built with a relatively easy way to destroy it. It doesn't, however, explain why the second Death Star was built with a relatively easy way to destroy it, or why Starkiller Base was built with a relatively easy way to destroy it, or why the main reactor was put in a place where a child can accidentally destroy it, or why the Empire has so many data access points that any regular household droid can tap into. Mate, at this point it's not even a mistake, it's a habit. So Cassian was able to escape the jail cell by hacking the terminal with a thing that he made with some things that he had. Kind of an A-Team ripoff, but I'll ignore that. However, it does mean that Saul's men clearly didn't search them properly, so that's incompetent. Anyway, at this point, the Empire fires the Death Star on Jeddah City to send a message. And right while the building is crumbling, Saul decides to stay because he doesn't want to run anymore. But it's like, what exactly has he been running from? All we know is that he picked up a girl, abandoned her, then spent the rest of his life living as a hobo underboss. I really like this scene. Tarkin is being every bit the bastard he's supposed to be, and you can really see the disdain that Krennic has for him. Thing is, somebody should tell Krennic that it doesn't matter how hard you work or what you achieve, you'll never get any further with the Empire until you iron your damn cape. I want to point out that Jin and Cassian have been hanging out for the last 20 or 30 minutes and they still have trust issues. And that makes way more sense than Finn and Poe becoming besties in about 20 or 30 seconds. Chero asks if Cassian looks like a killer because the Force moves darkly near a creature that's about to kill. If that's true, every single Star Wars movie could have been like 10 minutes, max. So Cassian was about to kill Papa Urso like instructed but had a last minute change of heart. But why? I mean, I know he was kind of having doubts when he was given the order, but why? And why does he all of a sudden care about Jin Erso's safety? We're over an hour into the movie and at no point Cassian is shown to care about anything outside of his mission. Yet, we're supposed to just believe that Papa Urso's goodness radiated a love rainbow into Cassian and now we just can't go through with killing him?
What are they doing? If Cassian comes back, we're leaving without them.
At least K2SO's been consistent. Krennic and his men left the platform without confirming if Papa Urso was dead or not. Why do bad guys always do this? I mean, surely they don't want Papa Urso to give one last heartfelt message so that the audience can feel a sense of attachment to Jin and her struggles. Jin confronts Cassian about how he went up there to kill her papa and Cassian says he was given orders that he disobeyed. Jin then replies with, "Orders? When you know they were wrong, you might as well be a stormtrooper." But the thing is, he did disobey his orders, literally just said that. Furthermore, how would he know the orders were wrong? Up until that point, all they knew was Papa Urso was an important factor in the Empire building a planet-destroying superweapon. Turns out, that was exactly correct. Based on that, killing Papa Urso, had they done it earlier, would have been a massive blow to the Empire. How were they supposed to know he purposely built in the floor? The only person he told was Saw Gerrera, and clearly Saw had no intention of sharing that information with the Rebel Alliance. So Cassian's decision to not kill Papa Ursa was purely based on the trust he had that Jyn was telling the truth about her papa's message, even though he has absolutely no reason to trust her at all. Also, Cassian tells Jyn that they don't all have the luxury of deciding when and where they get to care about something, but that's exactly what he did by disobeying the order. For real, this whole conversation plays out like Cassian did kill Papa Ursa in the original script, and when they decided against that, they forgot to rewrite this bit. Darth Vader summoned Krennic and then made him wait while he got changed. I can't be mad at that. It's a pretty bad guy thing to do. Jyn is pleading with the rebels to send their best troops to Scarif to find the Death Star plans to have any hope of destroying it. But Computer says no. But as highly improbable as Jyn's suggestion is, what other choice do they have? If they do nothing, they all die. If they do something, they'll probably still all die. Actually, come to think of it, there are much better things you could be doing with your final days, so yeah. So I guess this Oscar bait speech from Cassian is supposed to explain why he was having doubts about killing Papa Urso, because he believed Jyn about him being a secret good guy. Even though he was having doubts before she told him that, but whatever. It still doesn't explain why now. Cassian and everyone behind him has been doing badness for the rebellion. What happened to change that? Furthermore, his reasoning makes no damn sense at all. Cassian said that every time he did something he didn't want to do for the rebellion, he told himself it was for the greater cause, and if he gave up now, it would all be for nothing. Well, wouldn't that be a reason for him to obey the rebellion's decision to not go and fight? Because that would be the thing he doesn't want to do for the greater cause. So again, we're back to why, specifically now, is Cassian deciding to go against orders? Because dude, if you fancy Jyn, just say that.
Jyn, I'll be there for you. Cassian said I had to.
At least K2SO is still consistent.
What's your call sign, pilot?
Say something.
Rogue One.
Rogue One? There is no Rogue One.
It was super clear that Bodhi was lying to the air control guy. I mean, there's no way he believed him. So why not order the spaceship to be shot down? For all they know, that could have been Imperial forces infiltrating the base. Otherwise, what is even the point of having call signs? CGI Mon Mothma and Sons of Anarchy are talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi who lived in hiding and served during the Clone Wars. So when CGI Mon Mothma says you'll need someone you can trust, who is the her that Sons of Anarchy would trust with his life when they were clearly talking about a him all this time? Bodhi and the team used a stolen Imperial jet to bypass the Imperial air control. I think by the time Return of the Jedi happens, the bad guys would have learned their lesson. Rogue One captured the inspection team, took their clothes and walked out disguised as them. But isn't anyone wondering why all of a sudden this guy is about 15 years older, grown a mustache, a stubble, gained a slight tan, and where did this guy come from? And where did all the stormtroopers go? And I'm pretty sure she shrunk at least a few inches. Furthermore, I don't know the inner workings of the Empire, but if you have an inspection team, wouldn't they have to report what they inspected? So nobody's wondering what's going on? Nobody? Rogue One stole the spaceship, gave the rebel air control a made-up name, flew to Scarif, infiltrated the Imperial base, and it's only now they realize something's up? Like they couldn't tell Jyn, Cassian, K2SO, Bodhi, Bert and Ernie and a whole bunch of soldiers were missing? It's really taken them this long? It's really cool how Chirrut dodges the laser blast, but wouldn't it have been better to just duck? Didn't Sons of Anarchy give R2-D2 and C-3PO to Captain Antilles? So is Captain Antilles there as well, or did he fail the one job he was given? Also, why is C-3PO upset that no one told him they were going to Scarif? Why would they? And speaking of nonsensical comments, when Jyn hands K2SO the gun, K2SO said, "Your behavior is continually unexpected." But at this point, they're trapped in enemy territory with little to no chance of escaping. They don't have very much options but to trust each other. It should not be unexpected she gave K2SO a gun to protect himself when they need him to have any remnants of a hope of getting the Death Star plans to the rebels. Furthermore, it was mostly K2SO that was an arsehole to Jyn, not the other way round. So Chirrut and Baze were running all this time from the AT-AT that of course couldn't hit those two slow moving targets, because they gotta run to a spot of cover where there just so happens to be a bazooka. Plus there was at least a few people there before Baze got there, so couldn't they fire the bazooka? Furthermore, where exactly did Baze get the bazooka from? Because it wasn't actually there when they arrived. Just magicked it up out of nowhere. K2SO shut the blast doors to protect Jyn and Cassian inside from the stormtroopers. Jyn and Cassian saw the door shut, but not the reason why, and Cassian still thought it was a good idea to communicate with K2 via a loudspeaker. Are you dumb?
The rebels! They went over there.
K2SO is a terrible liar. This thing is a reprogrammed Imperial droid. They couldn't code it to lie better? Remember how Bodhi got all mad shouting at the soldier guys so they could hurry up and do what he said? You know, things generally go quicker when you actually give all the necessary information the first time round. So remember how Papa Urso sent the hologram message about how he purposefully put a flaw in the Death Star as a way of explaining A New Hope's plot hole? Yet, in this same movie, the Empire put the master switch for radio signals right out in the open where literally even a blind man can find it. Also, it's really nice how all the stormtroopers decided to just stop shooting so Baze can have one last moment with his life partner. So considerate of them. Bodhi radios the rebels saying, "This is Rogue One, can anyone hear me?" Admiral Raddus answers acknowledging Rogue One, but Rogue One didn't exist. So did the rebels air control guy actually register Rogue One as one of theirs based on the interactions with someone clearly stealing their ship? This would have made more sense if Raddus answered by saying, "Who the hell is Rogue One?" and then go into this whole thing about trust because he's wondering if it's a trap. Anyway, Bodhi tells Raddus that they have the Death Star plans, but he has to take down the shield gate so they can be transmitted. Raddus then tells his guys to call up a Hammerhead Corvette because he has a plan. Now granted, Raddus didn't know prior that the shield gate needed to be taken down so they can transmit the Death Star plans, but he did know the shield gate needed to be taken down so they can get more X-Wing fighters in. So why didn't he call up the Hammerhead Corvette then? How many people needlessly died because of his slow thinking ass? Hold up, it's been over 2 minutes and Baze is still with Chirrut? The stormtroopers all that time really didn't take a shot at him? So this spot that Jyn is transmitting from, sure, not exactly out in the open, but still seems like an odd place to pull a machine that can send data files. Furthermore, seems kind of convenient that this machine doesn't use coded signals and apparently its frequency can be picked up by any old Tom, Dick and Harry just happen to be passing by. Krennic confronts Jyn and shouts, "Who are you?" Jyn replies with, "You know who I am," and then proceeds to tell him who she is. Kinda kills the mood, to be honest. Cassian shows up and shoots Krennic. First of all, it means nobody confirmed Cassian was actually dead. They just assumed he was. Why do bad guys always do this? And B, how did Krennic make it all the way to Director and can't tell there was someone standing in his peripheral vision? Tarkin orders Scarif to be destroyed, and from the time the beam hit Scarif to the time Jyn and Cassian died is about 30 seconds. So I'm just saying, if Jyn and Cassian wanted to, they could have. Darth Vader boards the rebel ship and battered up everyone there, but he could have just used his force magic to grab the disc and be done with it. Or use the force to halt the escape pod. I mean, I know they gotta make sure A New Hope can still happen, but really? The movie ends with the rebels giving the Death Star plans to CGI Princess Leia. But here's the thing, why did they even need the Death Star plans? I mean, couldn't Papa Urso just tell them how to destroy the Death Star in the original message? How many people needlessly died because he couldn't just add a few more words to an already longer than it should be video mail? Alright, so before I get into my final thoughts, if you liked this movie, check out these movies. They're all movies where the bad guy wins in the end. Well, sorta wins. Not quite. Maybe win isn't the right word in this case, but they're all good movies, though 7 is the only one where the bad guy gets away with it in real life. Allegedly. So one more thing before my final thoughts. I should probably tell you as a disclosure or disclaimer or this whatever that I was almost in this movie. Yep, I almost got to be in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. It would have been what is known in the business as a supporting artist role, which is a fancy way of saying movie extra. I went for a fitting and a makeup test. They had me in some Super Saiyan looking wig with black face paint on my forehead. I can't remember if they told us, but I assume I was going to be playing a non-human character. I do remember we were supposed to fly out to Iceland to shoot the scene, but then literally one day before we were supposed to go, we all get a message saying we've been dropped because the scene got cancelled and I never got to be in Star Wars. But as fate would have it, I do get to sit on the internet and shit all over other people's hard work. Anyway, when I watched Rogue One in the cinema back in 2016, my first thoughts were something like, this is the best Disney Star Wars movie. To be fair, at the time, it was only the second Disney Star Wars movie, and it really doesn't take much to be better than The Force Awakens. But now, watching it again after all the Star Wars movies have been released, in my opinion, this is the best Disney Star Wars movie, and perhaps the most solidly put together Star Wars movie since Empire Strikes Back. And yeah, I know, I nitpick and make fun of movies because that's what I do, but I also gotta keep it all the way real. I think they pretty much nailed it with this one. I mean, sure, there's definitely a few plot inconsistencies, but mostly the characters and the story make sense within the parameters it's being told. Although it is linked to a larger universe, it's very much a self-contained story and has a very different feel to it than other Star Wars movies, which I think turned out to be a good creative choice. But I do have maybe one gripe with it. By the time you get to the end of the film, it really feels like a lot of stuff was changed. Well, to be fair, I know things were changed. What I mean is, it feels like there were ideas that were cut out, but not entirely. Like how Cassian is clearly having doubts about killing Galen Erso and is never explained why. But it feels like maybe it's because he has the hots for Jyn and knows killing her daddy has a high probability of ruining any chance he has. Or when K2SO says Jyn's behavior is continually unexpected. But prior to that, when did he make any acknowledgement of her behavior being unexpected? Furthermore, when has Jyn behaved in an unexpected way? She was rescued by the rebels and only helped them get to Saw so they can leave her alone afterwards, but then continue to help because she finds out her dad had this grand plan. What kind of behavior were you expecting if that behavior was unexpected? That seems pretty normal to me. But because of that, it feels like maybe there were supposed to be scenes of Jyn helping out K2SO, even though K2 was being an arsehole to her. And also when Bae says, "Good luck, little sister." Granted, I might be nitpicking just a little bit too much with this one, but that little sister comment doesn't feel earned. Prior to that, I swear they barely say anything to each other, but we're supposed to just believe that they've bonded enough for Baze to think of Jyn as family? The same guy who barely even acknowledges his own boyfriend? Oh, and that's another thing. Baze and Chirrut were definitely fencing partners. But anyway, overall, I do think the film came together pretty well. Krennic was an excellent bad guy, even though he didn't iron his cape. I liked that he represented someone who was career-driven within the Empire but is stifled by Tarkin for reasons not fully explained. And no, I don't think the whole thing about the pilot escaping was the reason. Well, not the full reason anyway. Whatever happened between them, it's personal. And although this also feels like something that was cut out that further explains Tarkin's animosity towards Krennic, this one, I think it's probably best we don't know the specifics and just see Krennic's frustration of never fully getting what he wants. And also, the film has this running theme of hope. Galen Erso makes a flaw in a Death Star with the hope someone can destroy it. Rogue One disobeys the rebels to go to Scarif with the hope they can find the Death Star plans. And Krennic persists in his role with the hope of moving forward in his career. And with that, it shows how sometimes all we have is hope, but that doesn't mean we should just give up. And also, hope can be a cruel mistress. But that's what I think of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. What do you think of Rogue One, a Star Wars story? Let me know down below, and while you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a suggestion if you don't mind.